Welcome to episode 5 of Relax, It's Just Cat Grooming. I'm Lynn Paolillo, and I am a certified instructor for the National Cat Groomers Institute. And right here is where I'll be answering your most asked questions about grooming cats and running a successful business doing it. So in this episode, I'll be talking about 1, how to know if there are enough cats for you to open a cat grooming business or for you to add cat grooming to your existing business. Number 2, what is a face trim and what's the big fuss about? And number 3, what are your favorite clippers for grooming cats? So if you enjoyed today's episode, then make sure to click the notifications button on the National Cat Groomers Facebook page so you can get notified when we post new videos and content just like this. And if you'd like to watch the previous episodes that I've done of Relax It's Just Cat Grooming, then you can go to the videos tab and the playlist is called Relax It's Just Cat Grooming, so that way you can watch all the previous videos that we've done. So let's start with, how do you know if there are enough cat clients to either add cat grooming to your existing grooming business, or if you want to open a cat exclusive grooming business like I have? So this is what's called market research. First of all, if you already have a grooming business and there are enough dog clients that fit your ideal client or your target market, then I almost guarantee that there's enough cats in your area to add that type of service. But what if you are a new business or you haven't got any calls for cats? Then this is what I would do, and that's to talk to people, talk to lots of people. Ask your local veterinary staff and the receptionists, the pet boutiques that sell cat food and toys, pet sitters, and other pet-related industries, and even other groomers. Do you get calls looking for cat grooming, looking for cat haircuts, looking for flea baths, looking for nail trims? You can also talk to cat rescues and foster programs and even breeders to see what kinds of cats are being adopted out or being sold in your local area, what kinds of owners are adopting these cats. So close to me, there's actually several breed-specific rescues. There's one for Persians, and there's also one for Maine Coons. So those are 2 breeds that obviously will need a lot of grooming services. So since there is a larger presence of those types of cats near me, I knew that that was going to be a big plus for me. But you won't know unless you ask. I would also look at who and where are your competitors. So what I did before I opened is I got a big map of my area and I mapped out where other businesses are near me and what services that they offer that will also be what I want to provide. So I know exactly how close my competitors are or how close other businesses are that don't offer those services. So I can kind of see who I might want to link up with. This way I can see if my area is saturated of cat grooming services or if they're only offering certain types of services. Are they spread out enough that clients from certain zip codes that I want to target will be more likely to seek me out than them? Do those businesses offer certain types of cat grooming services? For example, sedated shaving at a vet, or just brush outs or just nail trims at another grooming business. So I offer the basically full range of cat grooming services. I really don't do any just brush outs, and obviously I'm not at a vet, so I can't offer sedation. So that kind of gives me some way of knowing what's popular. First you do your market research, which is you ask around, you see what kind of owners, what the interest is already without you having to go out and do the legwork yourself by seeking out clients. And then you also want to map out who's nearby. You should always be very familiar of the other businesses that are operating in your area, because I always think it's a great idea to network with other businesses, even if you offer the same types of services. So I'm a small business and I am home-based and I cannot have any employees. So I max out at a certain number of grooms per day. I also offer boarding, but I max out at a certain number of boarders per night. So if I'm full, I would like to be able to refer clients or potential clients to another business that will best serve their needs. Because if I just kind of say, oh, it's not my problem and hang up, then that's going to dissuade them from ever contacting me in the future. And I really don't want that, because there are some clients that, maybe they just waited too long to get in with me, or something like that. Or maybe they just, I find a lot of times that if I try to maintain a positive relationship with those clients, even if I'm not the best fit for them, then they'll still talk positively about me when I'm not around, which is obviously what we want. So, but back to how do you know if you have enough people in your area in order to start providing these services? So finally, the last thing that I would do is I would go back to how you would look at your ideal client. Really think about the lifestyle and the person who your business would be designed to provide services to. Are they a stay-at-home mom? Are they a busy professional? Are they a retiree with lots of time on their hands? Statistically speaking, over 30% of households have cats, with the average being more than 2 cats. It's like 2.1. So statistically speaking, it's like over 2 cats per household. That's a lot of cats. But a great way to know if there is a market for your type of services and your business that you want to offer is to look at the person that you want to target. If you want wealthy retirees where they have a lot of time on their hands and they're willing to pay the higher prices and they want that kind of one-on-one gentle care, that type of business that they really want, but the closest 55 and up community is over 30 minutes away from you, that might not be a great fit if that target market isn't used to driving 30 minutes to get what they want. If they have other options that are closer to them, they may not travel to you for that reason. So expand to look at your nearby geographics. So all of that information you can really research and find online. So for example, the federal census has a lot of information online. And for super local stuff, if you're in the United States, I go to the US Postal Service website. They offer a direct mailing type of program, but what you can do is you can actually search routes. So routes that the Postal Service workers go on to deliver mail. You can search by an average of their home value, for the number of people that live in their household and the household income and the kind of average age range of the people who live in the home. So this will tell me very quickly, super locally, especially if I'm not super familiar with my area, what the income levels are that are really close to me. So this is literally by, you look by zip codes, and then you can even narrow it down to specific neighborhoods based on the routes that the Postal Service uses, and they'll be able to give you some general information about the income, the home values, things like that. And so if you're targeting a client with a specific income range or household value range, then that will provide you a lot of information. So everyone's ideal client is going to be a little bit different. So it's really important to check that out, and you'll be able to see, do I need to spend a lot of money to advertise further than my initial area, because real close to me within the next few blocks are not my ideal client. So when I opened my business, I looked at several key streets that I wanted to be on. And even though the neighborhood that my business is located in, the income level is not quite as high as I would like it to be for my ideal client, I do still get clients from this neighborhood, but I tend to put my advertising dollars into a slightly further away zip codes because I know that they travel down my road on their way to and from work, things like that. So that's why it was very different. When I looked at my ideal client and I looked at opening my business, I took all those geographics into consideration. So I tend to find that the people who drive by and see my sign are usually on their way to or from work or to or from the major shopping intersections that are right down the street from me. So they're familiar with my area, they see my sign, and it's not that they live within a few blocks, it's that they drive past it. So that to me was very important to look at. So it's the general geographics, but that's all information that you can research and look online, and you pull that together with the information that you can glean from the other businesses that you want to have relationships with to see if there's enough ideal clients near you that are willing to come to you, and that they have cats, and that they have the types of cats that will be seeking out cat grooming services. Now, I am of the opinion that all cats can benefit from specific types of grooming depending on what's going on at home and what's going on with the cat. But that doesn't mean that every single person with a cat is going to be actively seeking me out. So I have to kind of hone in on their problems that they might be having and making sure that my advertising and my website and my social media posts are all clearly focusing on those what's called pain points. So that way, very few people who don't have high maintenance cats like Persians, Himalayans, Siberians, Ragdolls, Burman, Norwegian forest cats, Maine Coons, things like that. They're not really searching out cat grooming. They'll be looking for different things. So it's really important to do as much research as you can, but to be honest, the average area will usually need cat grooming. It's whether or not you can compete with the services that are already being provided and how you can fill your specific niche. So just saying that your target client is a cat owner is not specific enough, and you'll get really frustrated trying to narrow down how you should be investing in your business, how you should be spending money on advertising in order to make sure that your business is full of clients that appreciate what you do, and your your business can serve them really well without getting really frustrated. So I'll give you an example. When I was first opening, I initially wanted to target busy professionals. And in a way, I do still target busy professionals for my boarding services, but I really don't do that now for grooming because I have limitations. Being a home-based business, which I mentioned, I can only open at 9 a.m. I cannot open before that. And I found that if I was targeting busy professionals, they were at work way before 9 o'clock. They were at work at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And it really didn't mesh with how I was structuring my business to be drop off between 9 and 10 and then pick up later in the day. I thought they'd be able to drop off before they go to work and then pick up when they came home. But that just isn't how I'm not able to serve them because I don't open early enough and I can't get that changed for my permit. So I ended up having to switch gears to a different type of client, and I had to tweak some things in my business to make sure that I was serving this new target client very well. And so that's the type of thing. You can certainly change what you do, but just know that it's going to affect a lot of what your business does. And so I find that knowing who this person is that you serve really, really well, it should kind of ripple down into your business because a lot of your different services need to be aimed at that person, not just for everybody. Because if you're trying to please everybody, you're going to end up burning out and you're going to have a lot of unhappy clients because at some point you're going to have to stop offering those types of flexible services. And I just don't want you to get frustrated. So we're not going to get frustrated. We're going to have our target client. We're going to do our market research. We're going to ask and ask and ask lots of questions. We're going to research. We're going to research. We're going to research. And then that way, when we open, we'll have a clear game plan on how we need to advertise, how we need to put our name out, and how we need to reach those cat clients that we want to work with. Okay. So question number 2 is, what is a face trim and why do some cats need it? So let's talk about face trims. So a face trim refers to sculpting the face of a Persian, Himalayan, or exotic. So the goal is to create a natural look that opens and highlights the expression of these breeds of cats. So in order to do this, we need to be very thoughtful with where and how we remove the excess hair, specifically above the eyes, around the ears, and the outline of the cheek. So give me just a moment and I will go grab one of my volunteer Persians since I own several, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is Miss Joy. She is one of my Persians. And so I have done a little bit of a face trim on her. She likes to kind of bump her head when I face trim her. So she doesn't always get the best face trim. You got some goopy eyeballs. Yeah, she just got a bath the other day, so you just goopy eyeballs all day, every day. So when the hairs above the eyes are too long, it can make the top of the eyes look flat and give them what I call a caveman brow. So you can she's so cute. You can see the tops of her eyes look really flat. And what you want is a nice big open eye. And so that's kind of a little bit of a different look than what Miss Joy has. Sorry, this is flipped camera. Hi, Miss Joy. She's so precious. But you can also see on the cheek, you want to take the corner of the mouth and we're going to draw a nice round cheek. And so you can actually see, whoa, where am I? Hi. We can see right in here where this cheek is going to be separated. So we want a nice round cheek, nice round head, and nice open and expressive eyes. Right? You're my good girl. So I'm also going to go grab my exotic because he already has this nice open expression. So the thing is that what you're going to do in order to create this face trim look, I use my Chris Christensen face and feet comb. It's nice and small and thin. And I also have a tiny pair, these are 4-inch blunt tipped curve scissors. So you can see these. It's got a little bit of a curve to it, so I'm going to use that curve to help me create this nice dome effect. So what you want to do is you kind of have, I'm going to post some pictures in the links below because my cats are not going to be very good at demonstrating right now because they all kind of need a face trim. So if you look at a cat's head, so if I have a cat's head, we have the eyebrows, so imagine my eyebrows are just the cat's eyes. So what we want to do is we want to create this dome that attaches from the corner of the eye up and over the forehead and attaches around to the other corner of the eye. So we want it to be a domed head this way and a domed head this way. So it's a nice round forehead. You don't want to get to the ear tufts that are growing at the front base of the ear. So we don't want that. So it's literally just this little dome above the eyes. And you obviously don't want to be cutting off the whiskers of the eyebrows because they have these whiskers that stick up and then whiskers that stick out here. So we don't want to be trimming whiskers. So what you want to do is you want to comb all that hair forward, and you can see what I like to do is I like to sit above them. So I have the cat sitting on the table facing away from me, and I use a stainless steel top table. And what that allows me to do is the reflection of the stainless steel kind of brightens up the area that I'm in. Make sure you're not in like a dark corner because you'll need to be able to see over the top of their head to the flat face. And so any of the hair that's growing in front of the eye, hi, Miss Joy. It's growing in front of the eye, that's what you want to be trimming. So if you can imagine how, as a dog groomer, you would do for a Bichon head. So you kind of comb a lot of the hair forward, and then you start with it's real close and tight right above the eye. And as you go back, it gets longer and longer. So it creates this nice bevel effect on the head, a nice dome. We don't want it to like slick straight back. We want it to be a nice rounded curve, but when you look at it from the top, you shouldn't see any little hairs sticking up everywhere. It should be a nice smooth gradation. So this is my exotic king. So you can see the difference between his eyes and Joy's eyes. His are much rounder, and actually I do still have to trim his a little tiny bit, but we want these nice open expression, nice round eyes, so when they look around, their eyes are nice and big. He's got a great face. I love this boy. And then we also have, I know, these nice cheeks. So we want a good separation between the cheek. So what you're going to do is you're going to trim right in here. This is weird because it's backwards. We're going to trim right kind of above the eye, and it's just going to go back a little bit. Then we're going to make sure there's no hair growing off the very, very tips of the ears because that can look really pointy, and we want them to have nice, small, rounded ears. So you would protect the ear leather with your finger and just trim the hairs that are growing off the very tip of the ears. We don't want the hair that's growing out from the middle of the actual ear, like in here. We don't want that because that's the ear tufts, and we want them to be nice and long and full, just if there's any hair growing off the very tip. Then, with long-haired cats, from our Persians and Himalayans, you want to see if there's any dead hair sticking out the top of this back of the base of the ear, because it tends to grow in a point, and you just want to pluck a couple little hairs to help smooth that down. So we're just going to pluck the remaining hair. Finally, the area that we pluck is going to be to define this nice cheek. So remember I said we start at the corner of the mouth. We're going to go up towards the ear. You don't want to be plucking the actual cheek. You actually want to be plucking along this line because we want to create a nice defined cheek. So he already has a nice defined cheek. So that is the goal for what we want our kitties to look like. You good boy? He's my little man. Okay. Thank you very much. You can go inside. Yes, you can. Good boy. He'll probably wander around. So anyway, okay. So we took our comb, we combed the top of the head down, and we trimmed nice and short. Comb it again, trim a little bit higher than that, a little bit longer. Comb it again, trim it a little bit higher. In order to not cut the whiskers, what I'll do, since they're sitting in front of me, I'll use my finger or my thumb to hold the whiskers to one side, trim at the base of where those whiskers are, hold them to the other side, trim at the base of that. That way I want to make sure that I can get all the little fuzzies at the very base of where the whiskers are coming out of, but I'm not trimming those whiskers. We want to avoid trimming them if we can. Is it the end of the world if you snip and you get a whisker by accident? No, the cat will most likely 99% of the time be totally fine and recover normally, but we don't want to intentionally be trimming those. So you don't want to trim all the whiskers off on the top of the forehead. They're supposed to have those, but everything else should be nice and neat. Now the key with face trims is to make sure it doesn't look trimmed. It should look natural. It should look like they grew this way. So after you trim that top of the forehead and you make sure it blends in with the nice dome head that they have, and we have trimmed any little tiny hairs growing off the very tip of the ear leather, and we're going to hold the ear leather with our finger to protect it because we don't want to snip the skin by mistake. And then you should look at the very top of the head where the head meets the ears. That's where I was saying that we might need to pluck a little bit because the hair tends to grow in a point right there, and so you just pluck the point and it should smooth it out a little bit. Finally, with the cheek, I don't scissor around the cheek, I pluck. So remember I said you go from the corner of the mouth up towards the ear, and that's where we're going to be plucking. We're not going to be plucking the actual cheek, and we're not going to be plucking what grows down here because we want them to have as much hair as possible. We just need to sculpt it a little bit. So instead of scissoring, what you'll do is they tend to grow like a pointy cheek. Here we go. Sorry, this is like flipped. It's weird for me to look at. They tend to grow this very pointy, wolfy looking cheek. So that's what you have to pluck. So it doesn't look pointy, it looks nice and defined in these nice little apple cheeks. So you just take a couple hairs at a time, and you're just going to pluck down with the growth of the hair. And you shouldn't be yanking out handfuls of hair at a time. You just want a couple at a time. And to be honest, the majority of cats don't even notice anything because you're not plucking live hair. You're plucking the dead excess hair that doesn't really need to be there. That's what gives them that really wolfy look versus a nice defined cheek. So you just pluck the little wolfy cheeks so that we have these nice round little apple cheeks. And again, it's really only for Persians, Himalayans, and exotics. I will sometimes do a little mini face trim on certain non-Persian long hair cats if I think they need it, but it isn't something that I do on every single long hair cat. I don't think it's necessary, it's not needed. And it's also not something I promote to my clients as a specific service because they tend to not understand what a face trim is or what it's meant to do, but they love what I do to their cats afterwards. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to be doing this, 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 and this, and that includes a face trim because they're not going to understand what that term means. So I tend to say, like, I'm going to get them all cleaned up, they're going to look nice and fresh, and don't you worry about them, and take care of it. And then that's what I do. I freshen them up, I freshen the face up. Just like, applying a little makeup, just clean them up, clean up the face. And that is the face trim. So like I mentioned, mainly for Persians, exotics, and Himalayans. That is what it's designed for, and it's based off of the face trim that show exhibitors would do on those breeds in order to highlight those things, highlight nice big round eyes, highlight nice round cute little cheeks, tiny little rounded ears. The whole idea is to highlight those things versus doing the exact same trim on every cat every single time, because you have to adjust based on that cat's body and structure. So that is the face trim. National Cat Groomers also has several resources for getting better at face trims. We have an online class called The Face Trim, and face trims are also covered in the online class Cat Grooming Basics, which kind of gives a nice overview of a bunch of different cat grooming services, as well as the Ultimate Cat Groomer Encyclopedia covers face trims in one of the sections. And I'm pretty sure Here Kitty Kitty does a face trim, the DVD. We have a DVD called Here Kitty Kitty, and it is on that. Also, if you come to trade shows where National Cat Groomers president Danielle German is doing demonstrations at the wall booth, a lot of times we bring Persians with us, and she will do a face trim right there on the trade show floor. So make sure to stop by the booth and talk to us about face trims. So that wraps up face trims. So for today's final question, what are your favorite clippers for shaving cats? So I have two main clippers that I use for cat grooming, both made by Wall. I use the Bravuras and the KM cordless or the KM10 corded clippers. So the KM cordless and the KM10 are basically the same clippers, just one is cordless and one has a cord. My Bravuras I will use for almost all my finish work because they create clean, crisp shaving. It looks so good. And honestly, if the cat is not too messy or greasy, I'll go ahead and just use my Bravura for my pre-bath shaving since they're so light and easy to use. However, so here are my Bravuras. I love them. I love my Bravuras. So you want to make sure that they're on the 10 setting, which if you're looking at the underside, this might be backwards for you. I can't remember. I'm looking at it. It is, sorry, that was a little, there we go. Now it's on the right one. Sorry, I was using it for toe tufts the other day. So here we go. So the Bravuras come with a 5-in-1 blade. That means there's 5 lengths on the one blade. It has a 9, 10, 15, 30, and 40 blades settings. So what you want to do is you want to be at the number 10 setting. That is a 10 blade. And in our opinion, for National Cat Groomers, it is the safest blade to use while we're shaving. So in order to get to the number 10 setting, you want to take this little tab at the very bottom, and you're going to look at the bottom of the blade. So you're looking at the tab and you're going to go all the way to the left. So that's the 9 setting. So you need to go 1 click in, click, to get to the 10 setting. So every time I pick up my clipper before I start shaving, I always check and make sure that it's on a 10 setting, because sometimes I'll use it for the 40 if I'm doing like toe tufts or if I'm doing my little dog or something like that. So I'll change it. And then sometimes if you bump it, it's kind of sensitive, so it might bump over. So always check and make sure it's on the 10 setting. So I always have my 10 setting on my Bravuras. But these are my Bravuras. I use them for like 90% of my shaving for my regular clients because they're light, they're fast, they're easy, and they make crisp, clean, shaved lines. Oh, they're so beautiful. I love crisp, clean shaving. I don't like all the little half-cut, chewed-up hairs. That's nasty. It's either shaved or it's not shaved, and this is what's going to give me that nice, clean division in the middle. Then we have the KM cordless clippers. So these are my workhorse clippers. So if I have a super matted or greasy or really thick coated cat that I just need to get that hair off of fast and easy, my KMs, my cordless or my KM10, which is a cord, I have both, they're gonna cut through that hair like butter. So this is a bulkier clipper, so it is a good bit heavier than my Bravuras, but that's because it's designed to have a lot more power to them versus the Bravuras. So I also like the black blades on both. You can see they've got black blades. So this is the Diamond something? Oh gosh, I don't remember. Don't tell my boss. I don't remember which blade it is, but it's the black one. So so there's different levels of blades made by Wahl, and it's just the materials that they use as far as the type of clipper. So I find the black blades keep an edge a lot longer than the less expensive blades because the materials are just a higher quality material, and I don't have to remember which blade it is because it's a black one. So it makes it really easy for me to like oh, this is the one I need. Also, with sharpening, I will send my regular blades to my regular sharpener, but then with the 5-in-1 blades, some sharpeners will do it, but I just send them to Wahl and they'll do what they call refurbishment, which is they will replace the cutting blade on the little 5-in-1s. I think it's like $13, and you basically get a brand new blade back. So it's awesome. So that way I use them. Now I will notice that these blades for the bravura and the bravura in general is a more delicate clipper, and that's because it's designed to be a trimmer. It's not meant to be a full workhorse clipper like the KM10 is. So just be gentle. Just be gentle with your clippers, especially your bravuras. They're not really meant for you to drop them all the time, so let's try to avoid that. So don't do that. I don't drop my clippers, knock on wood, and they last me a good long time. So the key with not dropping your clippers, if you want a couple tips, is that I will place my clippers down on a flat surface, preferably not my grooming table, while I get my cat into the position that I need them in. So I mentioned it, I think in the last episode, that I prefer to set my tool down, then adjust the cat, and then pick my tool up, as opposed to trying to adjust my handling while I have an expensive, either $150 or $300 clipper in my hand. Set that sucker down. So I use a cart by IKEA, and it's got an edge all the way around, so that way I can set stuff in it and I'm not worried about it rolling off the table. I have also used mouse pads on my grooming table if I need to set my clipper down, because my table is kind of at a little bit of an angle just with how my floor is not even. So I don't want the clipper rolling off, so I have a mouse pad that I'll set up there, and that way it kind of gives it some traction so it won't just roll right over. Finally, the anti-fatigue mats that we should all be standing on, because as groomers we stand all day every day. You should have some anti-fatigue mats. They offer a nice cushion, so if I do drop my clipper, it's not landing directly on like a cement floor, because I have cement floors, or hardwoods, or something like that. It gives them a little bit of cushion, so that way they won't go down so much. And my final tip for not dropping your clippers is there is a thing called gosh, what is the name of it? It's the tool something. Frank Rowanson carries it, and it's this little thing, and it velcros around your clipper, and it has a little chain, and it attaches to your wrist. The tool helper, tool caddy, this is gonna kill me. Sorry guys, I usually recommend it to beginner groomers if you're worried about dropping your clippers. You can also set it up so you can put them on your scissors, but I prefer not to have scissors hanging off my hand if I drop them for some reason. But it is a really nice little, the tool saver, that's it. The tool saver is what it's called, and I've seen it for sale at Frank Rowanson on their website. So it's really inexpensive, and it's great if you habitually drop your clippers or if they get kicked out of your hands. I never really set my stuff on the grooming table. That's why I have that little cart next to me, so I need to set my stuff down. But that will really help you, especially if you're a beginner, to not drop your clippers, because they're expensive. And expensive pieces of equipment are designed to do what I bought them for, not to withstand being dropped on the floor. So that will wrap up today's episode of Relax, It's Just Cat Grooming. If you have any questions, make sure to add them in the comments below, and you might just see them answered in a future episode. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.